it naturally produces that melatonin that is helping fight cancer. The only time our bodies truly fight cancer is at night, and it's that melatonin production. But if we are staring at that screen and we've got those UV rays coming in our eyes, it's tricking our brain into thinking it's still daytime.
What's up, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of Coffee with a Chiro.
Dude, we're getting good at this. Like the regular weekly thing.
Thinking about calling up Joe Rogan and go ahead and see if he wants to be a guest, or Peyton Manning. We could have Peyton Manning. Man. We could have all kinds of different people could come on our podcast, Caroline.
Dude, it's college baseball World Series, Tennessee head coach. I'm feeling it.
Yes, Marge seems to be interested in the baseball as well. Yeah, I see you with your Tennessee hat on today.
Let's go.
They are 2-0 after that miraculous bottom of the ninth comeback where Christian hit in a cycle. He had a single, double, triple, and a home run. When asked about it after the game, Caroline, he said that he didn't even know it. He was so in the zone. And then one really cool thing about that game, we were actually watching the Willie Nelson special on we're streaming that. Willie Nelson and Friends, which my dad was not a fan. He was more of a Hank Williams Sr. kind of guy. But anyway, we were watching that, and I was like, I better turn it over and watch the bottom of the ninth. So I'm watching this. And for those of you who didn't see that game, Christian was up after hitting the cycle, and he had 2 strikes on him, and he looked at the bench and he said, it's fine. One more strike, the game's over. Tennessee loses the game. And I'm like, it's not fine, dude. A couple pitches later, he rips a double down the third base line. And then, long story short, next guy comes up and drives us 2 runs in, and the Vols tie it, and then eventually they go on to win that game. I think it was 12-11. Yeah. 12-11.
Yes.
And they were down by as many as 4 or 5 runs. Like, they were down, I think, 11-7 or something.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Fun fact, I taught middle school, this was in a past life of mine, with Cantrell's mother. So one of the pitchers for UT, that's got the big mustache, the handlebars.
Yes, I know he has
a little kid running around in our classroom.
It's crazy.
That's how old I feel.
Yeah. Well, you are getting older. Now, I'll also say that he has his mustache I saw on his shoes. Did you know that?
What? No.
Yes. Yeah. So they showed it his last game. Not the game we speak of, that's a 12-11 game, but the next game they played against, maybe North Carolina. I can't.
It was North Carolina. It was the second game, yeah.
Yeah, he pitched in that one, and he had mustache imprinted on his Nikes. I think he wears Nikes.
I love that so much.
So the Vols are trying to get that World Series. Maybe by the time this episode is out, we'll know whether that is the fact or not. Well, before we talk about today's topic, we haven't had a chance just for us to talk a little bit about these podcasts. I'd like to get your take on, what's happening, right? Like, what's going on with these podcasts? It's crazy, the information.
The people that we are having, the guests that we're having on these podcasts, and I am not saying this because we're in with this podcast, but just the quality and caliber of educated, intellectual, top of their game, top people that we are having on this podcast is insane.
Agreed.
I got off the phone with Ryan and I said, I think with Dr. Ben Tapper, when we spoke with him, he's one of the smartest people I've ever spoke with in my entire life. We talked for 40 minutes. He quoted no less than 20 people. I mean, it was amazing to just hear.
He's very well read. Like you could tell the guy like reads and he doesn't read. He doesn't read books like I read. Like I'm in a read your book,
Yeah.
I'm trying to pick up on Kelly from The Office gave me a book the other day. We'll talk about that. And but I'm just when I'm reading, like I'm going out there. This guy, you could tell he's reading on the regular. And then we've had, let's just talk about some of the guests. We had Matt Tonis. We had Dr. Matt Tonis from Knoxville. We had Dr. Ben Rawl from Orlando. Just today, we had the Ott Defoe, professional. The Defoe.
Today, oh my gosh, the Fishers extraordinaire. I mean, Jenny is a machine. How she helps run his fishing business, has 4 kids, runs that house. They're in every sport in every season. I mean, and just how Jesus just is working through that ministry is amazing. And I learned about fishing, which
I don't know about that.
It's pretty cool.
And what else? So we just had some unbelievable guests. We thought we would steal a show today and talk about something that we just pray about the topic, something that we don't really think about. So we're going to go through the 7 devastating effects of cell phones today. That's what we're going to be sharing.
Can I just say I read an article about cell phones and social media for my generation, so like the older millennials, that said we are the first and only generation to know what it's like to have a life before social media and the internet, and then now with social media and the internet. And that was just mind-blowing to me that I've lived and still living through, now, but lived that so much of my life without social media and cell phones and the internet and all of that.
Well, I'm a little bit older, so I'll walk us back to a time before CD players. That's right. Before CD players. I graduated in the late 80s. Well, I graduated in 90, but I was in high school in the late 80s. And so I had first I had a 60-mile bus ride. So you can't even imagine that. I was the first one on, last one off. My dad eventually just drove the bus because it was so far away. But then I had it was only 18, 19 miles only once I could drive to school. But I remember driving from football practice with the windows down. Who's wasting AC? It's about dark, and there's just like the radio, because I'm not buying a cassette tape. No, I mean, I might make one. You know how you make you don't know, but you used to hit record.
You made
cassette tapes. Like your mom would come in and like you try to dub it up. Like you're waiting on the radio. You got pause on there, record and play, and you're waiting, and it's like Casey Kasem's top 40, and he's playing number 2. You're like, and you hit it, and then you can record it. And when you put it in your car, it sounds like pure trash. Like I'm saying, like you cannot like. Welcome to the day. I'm like, I think that's Guns N' Roses, but I can't tell. But you're just going, dude. And that was my life, but it was simple, and there was no distraction. That was a time when I was just like, take a deep breath, regroup. Your car the car used to be a place where you just you had some space, right? You just get in there, you're by yourself. You don't have to worry. Yeah. You're just like, I'm going to drive over to I got 15 minutes of me time. Not anymore.
Well, in high school and college, that's what I would do. That was like my escape. If I just needed a minute or I was stressed, I would just say, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going for a drive. Like that was what I did. Isn't that crazy?
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. Oh, and I think you'll like this story. I remember when the shoe cell phones came out, and like size of a shoe,
like Morris,
and you plugged them into your car. Yeah,
yep.
You plugged them into your car, and I was like, I literally got in my car and just drove so I could call someone. I'm like, Guess where I am? I'm in my car, bro. I'm in my car, and you're not. Like, I am big balling.
We
Like,
thought we were so cool because my mom had a briefcase phone. You unzip that bad
come
boy in the
on,
car.
come on.
It was like a whole computer situation. And I'm like, Mom, you had a house phone in your car. Like, what in the world? Looking back, freaking wild.
And your parents say, now use this only in a case of emergency because it's
Yeah.
$1.50 a minute. $1.50 a minute. Now you can't even get a drink for that. All right, so let's
do
go.
this.
Let's do
Yes.
this thing. Number one, text neck. We're going to talk about the 7 devastating effects of cellular phones. The most important thing that we check for from a chiropractic standpoint is one of the most important things is your cervical curve.
Mm-hmm.
And we are finding throughout the years, especially myself, that these cervical curves are diminishing. And one of the main reasons for that, I know y'all can't see me, but
No, like this.
your neck,
this.
your neck is supposed to be neutral, but everybody's looking down.
Yes.
Everybody's looking down, looking at their cell phone, texting, sending snapograms. My kids, I heard them laughing last night because they got some of their friends got streaks, like 3,000 days of Snapchat streaks.
What?
Like, bro, I don't even think I remember to drink water 3,000 days in a row.
No, that is insane. 3,000 days? Can you do? Well, I guess not 3,000 days because they probably send like multiple.
I don't know.
Snaps.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's been around that long, Snapchat. I can't do the math right quick, but I won't try. But they said it was that many days. So looking at your cell phone for extended periods of time causes stress in your cervical curve, spine, and it's the opposite of the curve that you want in your neck. And I would say that.
Sorry for a second, Dr. Michael. Talk about, too, when you're looking down like that, how it's cutting that blood flow, like that oxygen supply off, too.
Yes, it absolutely does. And I was going to say right before that is 80% of the patients that we x-ray on a day-to-day have a straight neck or a reverse cervical curve. So instead of that curve being in there, where all the nerves, let's talk about the nerve supply first, and then we'll go to the blood. But the spinal cord runs down from the brain through chiropractic, it was labeled the mouth of God, through the foramen magnum, and that area of the spinal cord is called the medulla oblongata. And that area goes all the way down through and supplies every organ, tissue cell of the body. It is the master control center. And so whenever we're looking down for a long period of time, day after day after day after day, we lose this God-given curve in our neck. Yeah. Do you know how we get that curve? What do we do before we walk? We crawl. Guess why we crawl? The baby picks his head up and it also crawls. That does two things, Caroline. Okay. It promotes the cervical and lumbar curves. They're the same curve. So when you watch a baby crawl, that lumbar curve and that cervical curve, it is strengthening that curve. Then, and only then, I'm not an advocate of these Johnny jumpers. Then and only then is the child able to stand, support its weight, and walk. Stress throughout the years causes this cervical curve to be diminished. And one of the main reasons for that is working on our computer and being on our cell phones.
On the off chance too that my kids might get a tablet, so I can just cook dinner without like breaking up Fight Club. I have to tell them all the time because I will catch them looking down like that, and I'll say, "No way, prop it up. Like if you want to put it on your knees, at least you've got your head straight and you're not looking down like that."
And people don't think like that's a big deal, but I mean, over a long extended period of time, looking down text days. Number 2, I'll let you go over this one. Decreased social skills.
Oh my gosh, this is bananas to me. Like kids that grew up with cell phones, are now having difficulty socially as adults. So I looked at this article that was plastered all over the news the other day, and I was mind blown. It talked about how 19% of kids or like 18 and older that are going to an interview either can't function fully in that interview.
It's crazy.
30% of those people brought a parent or friend with them to the interview. I mean, what? An adult bringing a parent to an interview because socially they can't function. And it's because their lives are on this cell phone. That's their only or major means of communication, is texting, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and they're not having that face-to-face communication anymore. There's no eye contact. There's no voice being raised when you're in somebody's presence. They are losing all of these social skills.
Which is so important on a day-to-day basis. I have kids in my house all the time. I have 3 daughters, teenage daughters, blessed Lord. And then, one of them just moved into, she's not a teenager anymore, but basically 3 girls and a son. So they have friends over all the time.
Yeah.
And we'll be sitting on the couch and I'm looking and they're talking to each other. I don't hear any verbal, but it's easier to text. Hey, did you see this? Sure. Boom. And they're boom. And so it's a small thing, but in all honesty, it's a gigantic thing because they're not interacting. When I go to take them to dinner, I'm like, I don't want your cell phones even face down. Give me your cell phone, put it in your mom's purse. That way, there's no temptation to go, oh, I got to get this or so-and-so. And they're like, we don't want to give you our phone. And I'm like, well, I'm not buying dinner. That's fine. If you want to, if I'm buying, I'm going to talk with you. You may not like it. I know you don't want to talk to your dad. That's the last person you want to talk to. But if I'm going to buy your dinner, we're hanging out. That's what we're doing. We're hanging out together.
Yes. And I listened to, it was the author of this book. It's called The Most Anxious Generation. Funny enough, the guy was on Joe Rogan's podcast the other day, and he was talking about how cell phones are so detrimental, right now to teenagers and young children. And one of the biggest statistics that he said was 30% now. It is double from the early 2000s. 30% of teenage girls who have cell phones with social media are clinically depressed. And
that's
as
horrible.
Mom of a daughter and you having 3 daughters, I just cannot imagine her confidence and self-worth being tied to these cell phones. And that's what's
crazy. What about I was watching Duck Dynasty one time. I know it's hard to believe, but I was watching it one time and Phil Robertson was fishing with his grandson. I think it's Luke. Is Luke his grand? Yeah. Okay. They were by themselves and he was over there and Phil was asking him questions like, how's school or whatever. Yeah. And he wasn't answering. He was on his phone.
Oh, no.
And Phil said, boy, he said, I think it'd be good if on the way home we stop by Walmart and buy you a personality.
Because that's what you're losing them. You're losing them.
Oh, gosh, so good.
Oh, my
so
gosh.
good. I was dying.
True.
It's true, though. It's true because, one of the things and also, too, I think about just as a kid growing up, I was saying earlier in the late 80s, what it took to meet a girl, what the whole deal of social, we're talking about decreased social skills, walking up to a girl, oh my gosh, and saying, hi, my name's Michael, what's your name? Oh my gosh, at the beach, I probably got my biggest education because you're there for 7 days and you're just you just had the same line every time. Hi, I'm Michael. I'm from Eufaula, Alabama. Where are y'all from? And then you had a window. If they told you where they were from, then you had a good start. But if they were let's see, all right, see you later. We're like, oh, that's a strikeout.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just you don't have these situations now. Like people meet through the phone, which I understand it. I'm not that old fashioned that I'm not good with it. It's just different, right?
Well, because even when I didn't get a cell phone until I was 16 and I had a car to drive. Like that's when they first came out. I had the little, the Nokia that had the snake game on it. That was it. That was what I had.
Oh, what about the BlackBerry with the organizer? I take one of them right now. They need to come back out with those. Put my calendar in there. I was like,
so good. But we had a cell phone, right? But number one, it did not have social media. Number two, the difference that was then versus now is we were still utilizing the cell phone socially. Like, hey, do you want to meet up at the mall? Meet me there at 6:00. Or, hey, let's go out to this abandoned field 40 miles past the Texaco on Friday night. Like, so that it was still to meet up and be social in person. But now you've just totally lost that.
Yeah, let's talk about the addiction factor. So number 3 is addiction. The average American spends 4.5 hours a day on cellular devices because 1/3 of our day that we're awake is on a cellular phone. Crazy. Studies show that teens are spending upwards of 8.5 hours. That is the entire time. Well, they stay awake all night and sleep all day. But, I go, oh, Dad, I can't get up before 11. I'm like, I bet you can. You get a job, you can. But anyway.
It's because they're addicted to it.
Yeah.
These social media companies have figured out that they make more money the longer that you are on their platform, right? So they are trying to constantly find ways through notifications or like so-and-so commented on your post. Well, oh my gosh, I've got to go check it, right? So then you're staying on that app, you're staying on that platform, and it's just a vicious cycle.
Or we use it as a way to see if it could be liked. Will my how many views, how many likes do I have? And I would hate, it's not actually on our list, but I would hate to know how many lives, are destroyed over someone posting something, and just not that anyone did anything wrong. They just didn't do anything at all. They just didn't comment or didn't respond or didn't like it.
Yes.
When
I taught middle school, they would put up the girls would put up a post or a picture. And if they didn't get so many likes or views or comments within a certain time, they would take it off. Can you believe that? Like it wasn't good enough because 50 people didn't comment in the first 5 minutes and we've got to delete it. What?
Yeah, it's crazy. And the whole thing is like, I noticed myself, I'm guilty. I've been off Facebook. That was my main platform where I would hit the button, but I want, if y'all don't get anything else out of today, I want you to think about this. I was clicking that Facebook button and I didn't even know my brain, like this is crazy. Like you talk about an addiction. Like I was clicking it and scrolling on it without even knowing. Like I didn't even know I was doing it. And sometimes it would be at the office while Kelly was talking to me. Sometimes it would be, and I wasn't doing it intentionally. It's just stimulating. It's just like there was a pause in my brain. So I clicked it and then I spun it. And then they came out with, Reels.
Oh my gosh.
On the Facebook, which I didn't have anything but Facebook, but then I got sucked into these Reels and I would be at home. I'm not lying. And I'd be on the couch and I'm watching TV and I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's 45 minutes went by like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And so I just deleted it. I was actually at the Chiropractic Revolution, and Dr. Matt said something about we're addicted to our cell phones. And I went up there. I was the last speaker. I was like, delete my Facebook. And I was like, oh God, no, what am I doing? What am I going to do with my life? I have nothing to do
But
now.
how much more time do you feel like
Oh,
you have?
bro, we could do 2 podcasts every day compared to, we're not going to, but compared to the amount of time that I spent on social media. Number 4 is decreased sleep quality. Tell us about that, Caroline.
So, decreased sleep quality, looking at your phone late at night, it tricks your brain into staying awake. Because what's happening is at night, our bodies naturally produce melatonin to, number 1, help us sleep. But number 2, which is amazing that I did not know, but once we had Dr. Terry Harmon on our podcast, he spoke about how at night, once our brain realizes it's nighttime, it naturally produces that melatonin. That is helping fight cancer. The only time our bodies truly fight cancer is at night, and it's that melatonin production. But if we are staring at that screen and we've got those UV rays coming in our eyes, it's tricking our brain into thinking it's still daytime. So we're staying awake. Our brains are still stimulated. And really, you want to be off your cell phones or off screens in general 2 hours before bed. And I can tell you, I'm so guilty of this, because if I don't realize that, and I've just been on it checking emails even, or whatever, checking kids' schedules, it is so much harder for me to turn my brain off to go to sleep versus if I would just put the phone down, and on nights that I just pick up a book and read, oh, I am out. I mean, it's crazy that your phone affects even your sleep.
Right. There's something about reading too, especially at night. It just takes you to another place. That is awesome. Number 5. This one absolutely made my head pop off my body. Accidents while driving and walking. The walking part. Wait for it. Dude. Let's talk about driving. 1 out of every 4 accidents in the United States are a result of texting and driving. I would say it's probably higher now. Around 3,000 people die every year as a result of texting and driving. Over 400,000 are injured. Listen to this. According to a study in 2020, walking while texting caused 11,000 injuries, and as many as 5,000 people died. 5,000 people.
It's not funny. I'm just like,
died while texting. I'm not laughing. I just it just blows my mind.
The best part of that, go on a college campus, okay, and just people watch these kids get out of class. They've got their ear pods in, their phone in front of their face, and they can't
hear, can't see. No. And the car's beeping their horn. Yep. Well, heck, I've almost got killed without my cell phone in New York City at least 10 times. And sometimes in Atlanta. Sometimes I'd be downtown Atlanta, doing only God knows what in Buckhead at all hours of the night. Yep. But you step out and the car just, like, oh my gosh. So 5,000 people. So pay attention.
Wild. And I mean, the kids and I were just in a car accident 3 weeks ago. And why? The person that hit us was on his cell phone and rolled through the stop sign. I mean, it's just wild that there's such a difference even now. Car accidents, I'm sure if you looked at the numbers now versus 20 years ago, it would probably just blow your mind.
I mean, we obviously do not want people driving while impaired, but we also don't want people driving while being on a cell phone. So, and I'm guilty. I'm not saying I've never done it, but we need to reel it in. And, this podcast could save somebody's life. If you're driving or whatever, listen to a podcast, whatever. Make sure you're paying attention to what's going on. If you're walking, be aware of your surroundings. Number 6, Caroline.
Number 6, lack of present time consciousness. Instead of being in the moment, we are trying to create one for a picture. Nothing is as good as being present in the moment. I can tell you firsthand, this is something I had to learn when my kids were even smaller than they are now, and they called me out on it. Mom, why are you on your phone and not paying attention to me? And that was like, smack me in my face, wake up. So when the kids are home, the phone's down. Like, it has to be. And the other part of that is, just like you've said, social media is a highlight reel of our lives. It is not the screaming at Ryan, I've spanked the kids 40 times today, and the dinner's burning on the oven. It's not that. And so you have to put that into perspective when you get on these apps and you see those picture perfect vacations or mom and kid moments, and I think a huge thing that goes along with that I read the other day said, if adults who are supposed to be able to regulate our emotions can't, when we see things like that on social media, why in the world would we give teenagers and kids who have no control over their emotions, full reign access to social media and cell phones?
Yeah, when I look at this one, I think about, I love music, like music's my thing. And I was at a Sheryl Crow concert one time, and she literally said, okay, she stopped and she was like, I don't want to sing to your phone. I want to sing to you.
So true.
And I was just like, that is so awesome. Yeah. Like, because, no matter who it is or where you're at or what you're going through.
Yeah.
How many times have you said, oh, I wish I had that on video. I wish I had that. I wish I had that. It's never as good as when you're there. It's like riding a roller coaster. Like, you're riding this roller coaster. So, I'll use, if I'm at, a concert, Bird and Beyond, if I'm somewhere, I'll video some, but I don't get a video for like to watch it. I just get a video. Like, my favorite part of being at a concert is like, how, when I was at Bonnaroo, like Stevie Nicks sang Landslide for 100,000 people. And you look over and you see this 18-year-old girl and she's just crying. And you're like, how does an 18-year-old girl know this song?
Yes.
And like, she's a queen. Like, she's been singing this song for 60 years, whatever, however many years. And this 18-year-old girl's affected by it. And I just thought, Bonnaroo's a lot of young people, but you could hear a pin drop. And like, I didn't video any of it because I was like, this is an awesome moment. You know what I mean? Be in the moment and not try to video or record the moment. And there's another thing that's happening too. Mm-hmm. Tragedies happen and no one helps. They video, or someone is doing an injustice and they're videoing it. And it's like, because they want to have the content.
We were in Johnson City the other day on Carter's field trip. Okay. We sit down at the restaurant downtown Johnson City. This poor older lady hit a biker, like going across the street. And instead of running to help the biker, this guy pulled out his cell phone and is recording it.
It's crazy.
What? My kids are like, Mom, why is he not helping? And I'm just like, this is what not to do, children. Like,
this is what not to do. This is a top 10 thing.
Yes, but it's so true. Like, help the person first, like, be in the moment.
Yeah, you gotta, one of my greatest memories of my dad, when he was still alive, we were going to at the time I thought it was extremely aggravating, but I was probably 17 and we were driving to watch a high school basketball game. Mm-hmm. Once again, it's 18 miles and the sun's going down. He just stops on the side of the road. I said, what are we doing? He's like, He said, son, he goes, slow down. We're going to take 10 minutes and watch the sun go down. And I was like, what? But I still remember that because I was aggravated because I was like, the girls are playing right now before the guys, all my friends are there. But it taught me something in life is like, so when the sun sets now, I remember that about you only get so many moments.
Yeah.
So don't try to friggin' record it. Be in it. Number 7 is the last one is mental state. Now, Caroline touched on it earlier, but continually filling our mind with the negativity that is on this cell phone, in the news, on the social media. And then also we get FOMO. We get this fear of missing out when someone posts they're in Mexico or the Bahamas or Cuba or whatever they're at, or they're saying, I'm in San Juan. Look at, I'm in the Dominican Republic. Check me out. And you're at work. So you're automatically like, you just looked at something, but the whole key is God didn't call you to be in those places. He called you to be where you're at. So you can't, and without that cellular device, you would never know where your high school friend that you never haven't seen for 10 years is doing or where they're at. Without this device, you wouldn't even have that information. Yet now it has affected your attitude and how you feel, and you get sucked in to this highlight reel of people's lives. It's just like you said earlier, no one put on Facebook. I tell my infamous story. I won't tell the entire thing, but I will say that I went to a UT game one day and I thought I had some gas working up, and it ended up, it was not gas. It was full. And so I had drank a shake and it all came out at the same time. And I'm standing there in the parking lot at a UT game, and I got a pants full of poop. But, I worked myself through that situation, which I won't go into detail. But 45 minutes later, I told that story at my kids' church at their youth group, and they were like, Dad, did you just tell all of our friends
so embarrassed
you pooped your pants at the UT game? I said, yeah, you know why? It happens, especially when you get older. But anyway, I put it in the newsletter at work. People were coming up to me. They were just dying laughing. But the moral of the story is I posted a picture and put it on Facebook of me, my best friend Kurt, his wife Susan, my wife, and my nephew Adam and Lauren, of us smiling at the game, and we're just having the time of our life. That's all people saw, and they probably thought, oh, man, look at what a great time. Michael's having. 35 minutes later, I had a breeches full of poop. So you don't know. You do not know the whole story. Yeah. So don't get sucked in, and don't let your mental state be affected. And last but not least, please, somebody help me before I start preaching. Last but not least, stop airing your dirty laundry on the Facebook. Oh, notice how I said to Facebook. Don't be putting if you have an issue with someone, go to them face to face and say, hey, I've got an issue. And to me, that's what, patient, if you're out there, we're not perfect, but we want to try and serve you in a way that is honoring to God and that we love you. We can't, we don't heal, God heals. But if for some reason you are dissatisfied, tell us, tell Noel, our office manager, tell one of the doctors. We
always want to hear criticism, obviously constructive is best, I feel like, that way we can learn from that. And if there is something that needs correcting, oh my gosh, our office staff and doctors will bend over backwards for anybody, to help them. And the other thing that I want to say too, as far as just cell phones in general, mental state, there's a huge push going on nationally to, now we have the data that's backing up that cell phones are bad, right? There's really not any net positives to social media and children and cell phones. And so one of the big things is wait till 8 It's waittill8.org. If you look at it, there's a huge push for parents everywhere telling their kids, we are not giving you a cell phone until 8th grade. And when we do that, it will be a flip phone with, you can call me and text me, but that's it. That is huge. And I feel so strongly about that with Dawson going into 3rd grade this year. It is a constant. So-and-so has a phone. When do I get a phone? But if the parents together, so in our group, have collectively said, we're going to wait until this date, Dawson's not by herself. I can sit here and say, hey, sorry, but your other 10 friends, they're not getting them either. And so it doesn't make it as hard on the parent, but also the child. You're not singling them out. And the other huge push right now that I've seen so many of my friends do, it's called the 1,000 Hours Outside Challenge. And this is amazing. So you have a goal for the year to do 1,000 outside hours with your kids. And there's an app, there's a book, you can track it. It doesn't matter if the kids go eat a popsicle outside, take a walk with your kids. It's just being engaged.
They're not getting outside. They're not getting outside.
Let them go throw old clothes on and run in the rain and in the mud. But it's just getting them back outside and getting them away from the screen.
It's so good. If I could go back to, this is probably the biggest thing. And actually, my pastor at the time said this to me. He said, I would rather give my kid a loaded gun and to go to bed with than to let them keep their phone past 10 p.m.
Yes.
So if you start, and obviously you need Safe Eyes. They have an app, Safe Eyes, that will protect them from, because this is a growing. It's not even on here, but it should probably number one. Yes. Pornographic material that is going across the streamlines for that our kids can access. And you think, well, my kid can't access it, bro. They got back ways, they got sideways, they got different. I'm checking their Instagram account. They got a separate Instagram account. They're doing all kinds of things. And I try to tell my girls, I got 3 girls, so I say, if you send a picture, then you're putting it on the front of the Morristown Tribune. That's what I want you to think about, because you cannot trust wherever that picture's going.
That's it.
And it is not safe. And so that's just a side thing I wanted to share with you that I hope helps. And you say, how am I going to get my kid's phone at 10 p.m.? The first day you give it to them, Christmas, here it is. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Hey, that's my cell phone. I own it. I pay the bills on it. And at 10 p.m., it goes into the box. And at any time you want to change the agreement and it don't go into the box at 10 p.m., and we did that for a long, long time. And we might have been gone somewhere at some point and changed it. But that's my number one regret, is that I didn't stick to my guns with that, because kids stay up late, and you know what mama says, nothing good happens after midnight. You make bad decisions after midnight. You do all kinds of, I was just listening to this, I don't know how I got sucked into this podcast, this murder podcast, but that's what happened. The girl was on the phone and someone texted her, you want to sneak out? Snuck out at 12:45 because she had her phone. So if she wouldn't have had a phone, she would never been in that situation.
What they say,
probably been in time.
Nothing ever good happens after 10 p.m. with a screen and a closed door.
It's good.
Was like, man,
that's good. It's solid.
I'm saving that one for sure.
What a great podcast. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and I hope you guys did too.
Yes.
This podcast, we want you to continue to follow us, like us and follow us on our podcast. We're going to have so many more. We got a lot of great episodes coming up, and look forward to releasing those. So, Caroline, thanks for being awesome today. It was fantastic.
Thanks.
And I hope y'all learn more about cell phones. But also remember, God gave us these devices, and we can use them in a positive way.
That's right.
To encourage others. So be an encouragement to somebody today. Send a text to somebody just to say you love them, you're grateful for them, and I hope y'all have a fantastic, blessed day. Thank you for joining us on Coffee with the Chiro.
See you next time. Bye, guys.